So yesterday, as you know by now, Jack Smith charged Donald Trump with 4 counts of January 6th crimes, alleged crimes, and basically conspiracy, saying that Trump knew he was making false statements about the election in 2020 and did it anyway. That's going to be almost impossible to prove for Smith, but it doesn't really matter. He just wants to get it out there. All right, whether he wins in court or not, secondary. All right, just keep pounding Trump and the Republican Party. Now, obviously, Trump's defense will be that he did believe and does to this day that the election was rigged. And his lawyers are going to bring in investigations in states like Arizona, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, to show the jury, if it ever gets there, that there were a lot of questions about that vote. And the states took it seriously and launched their own investigations. That's a powerful defense for the Trump people. But again, Jack Smith doesn't care. He loses. So what? He's getting revenge on Trump now and sending a message to the Republican Party. You keep it up with Joe Biden, we're going to bring more charges. All right? We'll destroy your guy and your party because Trump is leading so big in the primary system. Now, you wouldn't know that Trump has a good defense by reading the New York Times, Washington Post, any of those corrupt papers, or listening to most of television news. Even the Fox News channel is so unfocused on this, generally speaking. And there are, guys like Turley and people like that who have a good, sharp focus, but it's all over the place. I mean, they're not zeroed in on what is important. All right. So the indictment against Trump on January 6 charges is not a slam dunk. And as the Wall Street Journal pointed out today in a very astute editorial, and Wall Street Journal, no fan of Donald Trump. If Trump incited January 6th, that would have been in this indictment. If he worked in concert with anyone to make that violence happen, that would have been front page, headline in this indictment. So Smith does not have that. All Smith has is this gauzy conspiracy to do whatever. I'm not a lawyer, but I can destroy it in about 30 minutes. Okay, so his indictment is weak on these charges, Smith's. But Trump has a problem because the case is going to be held in Washington, D.C. Trump has to surrender tomorrow there in front of an activist judge. What do I mean by that? Very liberal judge who has aggressively sentenced people convicted for January 6 crimes. This judge is no fan of Donald Trump or the Republican Party. So right away, the Trump lawyers have to get that venue changed, probably into Northern Virginia, or try. Now, the judge is going to say no, okay? But then the appeal process opens up, you see? So the Trump lawyers, the first thing they do is go, we can't get a fair trial in D.C. Only 5% of the people in the district voted for Donald Trump. Can't possibly get a fair trial there. And the judge is anti-Trump all day long. And if the judge, as she will, say, no, then you take it to the appellate division. Okay, that'll tie everything up for a while. Then the subtext to all of this, as I mentioned, is the retaliation against Joe Biden. Okay, so as I've said, Joe Biden is in trouble. Now, Congress is gone until after Labor Day, but believe me, the information already assembled proves that Joe Biden sold influence through his son, Hunter. Provable. Talk about a conspiracy. There's no doubt about it. He did it. Now, whether he got money to doing it, that is the open question. Because just like Donald Trump, this is what Trump and Biden have in common. Criminal intent. So, for a conviction, the prosecution on both sides have to show criminal intent. So if Joe Biden got money, there's your criminal intent. But we don't know yet if he got money. People believe what they want to believe, so a lot of you believe he got money, but you can't prove it. On Trump's side, you'd have to prove criminal intent And this is what Smith alleges, that Trump knew the election was legitimate, but said it was phony anyway to blow everything up. Okay? That's going to be pretty damn hard to prove, with one exception: Mike Pence, the former vice president. If Pence testifies, and remember, his testimony will be in print on Discovery, that Trump knew the elector thing, replacing electors in certain states, having Pence not certify the election. If Pence comes in and says the president knew that was phony but did it anyway, that's huge. Pence may do it. I don't know. But whoever interviews Pence from now on has got to ask him that question. Pence is the only thing that I believe could convict Donald Trump in this January 6th stuff. Now, not since 1862 has the federal government used this kind of power to arrive at an outcome. What happened in 1862? I bet you some of you know. Abraham Lincoln suspended habeas corpus and allowed Union troops to kick in doors and arrest anybody they wanted to save the Union. Supreme Court told him he couldn't do it. Lincoln couldn't do it. Supreme Court said, you can't do this. Lincoln did it anyway. Okay? That was the last time that the federal government has used this kind of power, because the White House and the Department of Justice are working together to destroy Donald Trump and the Republican Party. Now, it's happened to lesser degree in the past, but not like this. They don't care whether you know that or not. The progressive left, which controls the White House and the Justice Department, is basically saying, blank you, we're going to send a message. We're more powerful than anybody in this country. The progressive movement is the most powerful movement. We're going to destroy the standard bearer, Trump, and do as much damage to the Republican Party as we can do. And nobody's going to stop us. But one entity could, and that's the Supreme Court. And believe me, they will get involved with this case. But first, before it comes to that court, it's got to be adjudicated by the other courts. Okay? The criminal court in D.C., the criminal court in Florida on Mar-a-Lago, and then it goes up to the appellate division, the appeal, and then it goes to the Supreme Court. But the Supreme Court will have to hear this. You wait and see. It will happen. Now, the danger here is not just to Donald Trump and the Republican Party, it's to you and me. Trump has already paid between $40 and $60 million to lawyers. The federal government can ruin any American, anyone, by just piling charge, allegation. Who can pay $60 million? Very few people. They can break you financially, emotionally, every way. That's the power the federal government has. And it is being misused, abused. Whereas Hunter Biden gets soft treatment, everything is thrown at Trump. And Joe Biden, obviously. And if you don't believe me, then I don't know what to say to you other than there's a baseline for all of this Biden business. The baseline is on the laptop, which I reported yesterday. Hunter Biden wrote an email to his daughter, Naomi. It is on, the FBI has that laptop, the laptop. The email essentially said this: I've been paying my father half of my income for 10 years. That's a baseline right there. So any investigator in any police department in this country knows when you see that, you either prove it or disprove it. That's the key in this whole thing. That's it. That email to Naomi Biden. Have you heard about that email? I bet you haven't, which is why you watch and listen to me. So the FBI immediately, upon seeing that, should have launched an investigation into whether that is true, into whether what Hunter Biden told his daughter is true. They did not. The FBI did not. Just put it aside. Scandal. But no Americans know it because the press won't report it. That's what happens in Russia and China and Iran. The people don't know what's happening. And because our media is so blank and corrupt now, here, it's exactly what's happening. I asked my son today, and he's a very smart political science major. I said, do any of your friends know what's going on here? Do they care? No, not one. And he hangs with college kids, and not one. Have any idea what's going on? These are younger people, of course, but still. Okay, so where we are now is that zealots on both sides, right and left, are basically convicting Biden of bribery and Trump of everything. And that's what you get on talk radio, on television. You get conviction. We're not going to do that here because that's not fair. It's not right. It's a disservice to you. We're going to stair step and walk this. Now, I'm going to be on News Nation tonight with Chris Cuomo, who hates Trump. All right? And I told the News Nation people politely, I'm going to talk about this. So you don't want to talk about it, don't have me on. Because no matter what he asks me, I'm talking about this. And I'm going to present what I'm presenting to you, to the News Nation audience. All right? Because this is so important. The Republicans, faced with all of this, are going to now even retaliate more in September and October against Biden. They're going to step that up. And Biden is not going to dodge it. I get letters every day. Oh, they're not going to get him there. He's already gotten him. Most people believe that Joe Biden took money in this country. Even if they're Democrats, they believe that. Okay? But Joe Biden's not going to get away with this. I don't know if he's going to get hauled in on criminal charges, but he's through as a person that you can trust because he did peddle influence. You can't trust Joe Biden. You can't. Finally, criminal intent. And I go back to that because it's very important. So Biden got on the phone 20 times, whatever amount of times, met with clients of Hunter Biden's. Did Biden know that the grift was in? Did he know? He had to know, right? Got to prove that. Got to prove, if you're going to charge Joe Biden down the lane, that he had criminal intent. And the way you do that is if he got money. That's it. Because otherwise he's going to go, what you're hearing now, I'm talking about the weather, I was doing my son a favor. Okay. Same thing with Trump. And that's why I brought Mike Pence in. I think he's the only person who could say that Trump knew it was phony, but did it anyway. And as a personal aside, I know him, Trump, and I talk to him. I don't ever call him. He calls me. But I got to tell you, man, he believes that election was rigged. And it's hard to fool me. Because he wants to believe it. Not hard. All right, is there anything else here? No, I think that's the memo.